another Friday night in LA. We all getting down, feeling right. And there she is alone again in the corner, sipping on a glass of house red wine. As the band begins to play, she's grooving, letting music fill her soul. Nobody knows, nobody knows why she dances alone. No, nobody knows, nobody knows what she's running from. You can ask her to dance if you wanna, but you smile and just say no. Nobody knows why she dances alone. There's a million things that it could be, from broken hearts to broken dreams, or getting tired of being left out one more time. To tell you the truth, your guess is as good as mine. Nobody knows, nobody knows why she dances alone. No, nobody knows, nobody knows. Is there something at home? Nobody knows, nobody knows why she dances alone. No, nobody knows, nobody knows what she's running from. You can ask her to dance if you want, but you smile and just say no. Nobody knows why she dances alone. Nobody knows why she dances alone. Said nobody knows.
Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States, accompanied by the President of the Republic of Lithuania, the President of Latvia, and the President of the Republic of Estonia.
Thank you. Today I'm honored to host the President of Estonia, the President of Latvia, and the President of Lithuania at the US-Baltic Centennial Summit. Thank you all for traveling to the White House for these really important discussions. We've just spent a long time together, and it was very interesting. This summit proudly displays to the world America's deep and lasting friendship with the Baltic nations. On behalf of the American people, thank you very much. And we are going to have another 100-year, very long and beautiful relationship. This is your 100th year of independence. Congratulations. For a century, the United States has stood with the people of the Baltics in support of their independence, sovereignty, and self-determination. Through the decades of brutal Soviet occupation, the United States never ceased to recognize the sovereignty of the Baltic republics. In our discussions today, I was proud to reaffirm America's commitment to the Wells Declaration of 1940 and the US-Baltic Charter of 1998. These same principles lie at the heart of America's approach to world affairs, honoring the right of peaceful citizens and nations to protect their interests and chart their own wonderful destinies. All three Baltic republics are committed NATO allies. I want to express our gratitude to each of your countries for fulfilling your full obligations and meeting the 2% GDP benchmark for national defense this year. Your commitment to burden sharing is an example of really that other NATO nations and partners all around the world will have to all get together and bear. Some of them do not make the same commitment. Hopefully, they soon will. When nations are committed to peace and to security, they have to pay their share, and we will all enjoy a much more safe and prosperous future. Baltic countries are also providing security assistance and training as part of the coalition to defeat ISIS. The coalition has liberated almost 100% of the territory once held by ISIS in Syria and in Iraq, and we will not rest until ISIS is gone. In economic matters, our cooperation continues to develop and grow, as you well know. We're excited about several new opportunities for collaboration, especially in science, medicine, and technology. Immediately following this summit, the Department of Commerce and the U.S. Chamber of Commerce will host a US-Baltic Business Summit to expand mutual trade and investment between our nations. And they're all looking forward to seeing you. The Baltic countries remain a key market for U.S. aircraft, automobiles, machinery, and medical equipment, and we welcome increased bilateral trade with all three nations based on the principle of fairness and reciprocity. Finally, we are enhancing our cooperation on energy security. We're all collaborating to diversify energy sources, supplies, and routes throughout the Baltic region, including expanding exports of U.S. liquefied natural gas, of which you've become a bigger and bigger user. These are just some of the many wonderful opportunities we can seize together. To all three Baltic leaders with us today, thank you again for helping to celebrate, and this is really a very great celebration because it's a historic milestone. Our friendship will continue to grow closer, and our cooperation will continue to bring about the greater security and prosperity for our citizens. And you have done terrific jobs as leaders, as presidents of your countries. And we tell you that for your citizens, we are there for you. As we begin the next 100 years of our partnership, the Baltic republics can trust the United States will remain a strong, proud, and loyal friend and ally. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. Please.
Probably it's my turn.
Yes, whatever you like.
It looks so.
Ladies first.
So, of course, we're very thankful for possibility to be here, especially not only because of our anniversary in our region, but because of alliance which we are affirming today with the United States by adopting the declaration, where we say that Article 5 is ironclad for all of us, and the collective defense issues are important to all of us, and we understand how important NATO is for all of us, and why we, during our discussions, talked so much about further reforming NATO, the investments into our defense, the amounts of necessary to invest into our defense, and of course, together, where it is necessary, all of us, and Lithuania is with the United States on fighting the terrorists through all the world. We back in Afghanistan, we in Mali, we in Central African Republic, we in Kosovo, we in Ukraine together. So we are partners, allies, and trustful allies. And because of that, we are sure that the reforms of NATO, which we are investing together and preparing together, will be resultative, as it was before, but especially now, because we're seeing United States leadership, we're seeing the willingness of United States to see different NATO, different quality of NATO, and I can be probably open. We talked with the President, I was joking about that we need leadership sometimes for decision-making, even unpredictable leadership, to make enough leverage and pressure for the rivals to believe that we can make a decision. And we're seeing this kind of leadership in President Trump. And this is good because without the leverage and pressure, there will be no additional spendings in our defense, in NATO. There will be no additional decisions for rotating military forces of the United States in our countries. There will be no willingness to look into the matter of air defense, which we need very much. So from all this point of views, we trust that our partner and ally is investing seriously in the future of our defense, not only our regions, but the NATO's territory defense, and in the peace and security of the world as it was before. Of course, the businesses are coming together. Ally in military cooperation goes with economic cooperation, and I am very happy that today in our business forum we will sign 2 agreements with 2 American companies on the liquid gas cooperation. Lithuania has liquid gas station and factory, so-called floating boat, but we can be independent, all 3 Baltic states, on the gas supply because of that, and this gives us strength and possibility to make our own decisions, not to depend on one supplier, and American liquid gas will come on time and will make us more independent in our decision-making and diversifies our gas supply. And this is about a real friendship, about a real cooperation between our region and United States. And this comes also together with the trade matters, where today we see some discussions on the world level between United States and European Union. We are together with the decisions that the trade needs to be useful and equally fair to all sides. There is no sense to go to the war, but decisions, if there is disbalances, need to be found, and this we will support as ally of United States. So, together with international obligations in military, together with cooperation in economy, together with the United States and European Union in solving the trade disputes and issues, we are standing with and together, and we hope that, as President said, next 100 years will be even better, closer, together, and we will be able to achieve and make more. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Please.
Your Excellency President Trump, my esteemed Baltic colleagues, dear friends, the Baltic-US President's summits reaffirmed our shared commitment to fundamental values. our long-lasting friendship and the steadfast partnership that we have enjoyed for nearly a century. The United States of America is our closest friend and ally. I appreciate that we have each other's mutual support in our endeavors, as well as in the security challenges we are facing. Today, we reflected on our many achievements and set a course for our future undertakings. We have agreed to enhance our defense and security cooperation. The Baltic states appreciate the United States' commitment to deterrence policy in the Baltic region and the military assistance provided to our forces. We will continue to commit 2% of GDP towards the development of our military capabilities for the purposes of both strengthening NATO's posture in the eastern flank and contributing to international security. The Baltic states and the United States acknowledged the need to continue the successful existing cooperation we have in countering modern-day security threats such as terrorism, cyber and informational warfare, and nuclear proliferation. Today, all of us committed to placing greater emphasis on advancing our economic and trade and investment relationship. We recognize great potential in areas of innovation, modern technologies, and the digital economy. And we will explore possibilities for forging new partnerships to this end. I am particularly proud of successes of Latvian companies that have generated more than 2,000 jobs in the US, in Georgia, in North Carolina, in California. It just shows how important is this economic cooperation. And finally, the Baltic states and the United States agreed to continue promoting closer people-to-people contacts because these contacts are very important for every member of our society. And let me stress that President Trump was an outstanding host today. Thanks for hosting us in this very important event when we celebrate 100 years anniversary of our statehood. Thanks.
Thank you.
President Trump, my dear neighbors, dear journalists, I would like to thank President Trump and his administration for his political leadership in our region and for the very visible commitment which has been demonstrated through a number of high-level visits also to our region. This year we do celebrate indeed our centennial anniversary. Of these 100 years, for 50, we were occupied by the Soviet Union. And people in our country got up every morning knowing that there are democratic countries led by United States who have never recognized the occupation of the Baltic states. Our national flag, the blue, black and white, was waving here in America throughout these years. It couldn't have been done at that time in Estonia. It was heartwarming. It was a true sign of friendship. We knew it back then and we remember it and we are still grateful for it. Will be forever. Today we agreed a declaration also reminding us about the foundations of our relations. My friends here spoke a lot about what we do. It's always worth to remind why we do this. We believe that peace, security and prosperity depend on strong sovereign nations that respect their citizens at home and cooperate to promote peace abroad. Our partnership is based on principles of democracy and individual liberty and the rule of law. These things are extremely important. Today, we stand together, like-minded partners and allies. Yes, Baltic states are quite small, but they are important because of their location. But not only, because of what we do as contributing partners to the global security. We find it very important to contribute in the counter-terrorism fight. We find it important since 2011 to spend 2% of our GDP on defense. We find it extremely important to remember that we stand together and we form something which we call in my office an axis of good. This is an axis of good, made visible for you all. Yes, Estonia and the United States are very different by the size of their economy. But when we are speaking about digital economies, then this doesn't matter anymore. Estonia is one of the world leading nations of digital governance, and our companies are working with companies in your country to make sure that people elsewhere could benefit. This cannot come without cybersecurity. There is a NATO Center of Excellence on Cybersecurity in Estonia because we have been attacked on cyber long before anybody else. We still work together, we contribute, and we hope that we are really helpful to all of our partners. Yes, we have also more conventional trade, which we do together. People in Walmart going for their pre-ordered packages in a couple of years will see them delivered by Estonian-made package delivery robots. We are proud of this, and we are also proud of our legal environment in Estonia, which invites business to try and test new ideas in our place, which is tiny, and then upscale when it makes more sense to upscale. This way, we work together, both on defense matters, economic matters, and always stand on our common value base. This is the foundation of our relations. Thank you for today, for making this visible, this axis of good.
Thank you very much, very much. We'll take a few questions. We're going to also have questions specifically for the Baltics. Steve? Reuters.
Thank you, Mr. President. Some of your military advisors are urging you to keep a contingent of U.S. troops in Syria to ensure the defeat of ISIS. What is your current thinking on this subject? Do you still want them out? And secondly, could you clarify what you meant about having the U.S. military guard the U.S. border along with Mexico? Thank you, sir.
Yeah. First of all, the border. The Mexican border is very unprotected by our laws. We have horrible, horrible and very unsafe laws in the United States, and we're going to be able to do something about that hopefully soon. Hopefully Congress will get their act together and get in and create some very powerful laws like Mexico has and like Canada has and like almost all countries have. We don't have laws. We have catch and release. You catch and then you immediately release, and people come back years later for a court case, except they virtually never come back. So we are preparing for the military to secure our border between Mexico and the United States. We have a meeting on it in a little while with General Mattis and everybody, and I think that it's something we have to do. Now, the caravan, which is over 1,000 people coming in from Honduras, thought they were going to just walk right through Mexico and right through the border. As you know, NAFTA is a phenomenal deal for Mexico. It's been a horrible deal for the United States. We're renegotiating it now. But it has been a horrible, horrible, embarrassing deal for the United States. This should have been terminated or renegotiated many years ago. Mexico, we have a trade deficit with Mexico of over $100 billion a year. And I told Mexico yesterday that because of the fact that their laws are so strong, they can do things about it that hard to believe the United States can't. I said, I hope you're going to tell that caravan not to get up to the border. And I think they're doing that because as of 12 minutes ago, it was all being broken up. We'll see what happens. But we have to have strong borders. We need the wall. We've started building the wall. As you know, we have $1.6 billion toward building the wall and fixing existing wall that's falling down or was never appropriate in the first place. And that's very important. As far as Syria is concerned, our primary mission in terms of that was getting rid of ISIS. We've almost completed that task, and we'll be making a decision very quickly in coordination with others in the area as to what we'll do. Saudi Arabia is very interested in our decision. And I said, well, you want us to say maybe you're going to have to pay. But a lot of people, we do a lot of things in this country. We do them for a lot of reasons, but it's very costly for our country, and it helps other countries a hell of a lot more than it helps us. So we're going to be making a decision. We've had a tremendous military success against ISIS, as you know. It's close to 100%, as I just said. And we'll be making a decision as to what we do in the very near future. We'll be consulting also with groups of our people and groups of our allies. Okay?
So you're inclined to pull the troops out?
Say it?
You're inclined to pull the troops out?
I want to get out. I want to bring our troops back home. I want to start rebuilding our nation. We will have, as of 3 months ago, $7 trillion in the Middle East over the last 17 years. We get nothing out of it, nothing. And as you remember, in civilian life for years, I said, keep the oil. I was always saying, keep the oil. We didn't keep the oil. Who got the oil? Was ISIS got the oil, a lot of it. That's what funded their campaigns. They took a lot of the oil, and it was largely responsible for funding. We should have kept the oil then. We didn't keep the oil. So I want to get back. I want to rebuild our nation. Think of it, $7 trillion over a 17-year period. We have nothing except death and destruction. It's a horrible thing. So it's time. It's time. We were very successful against ISIS. We'll be successful against anybody militarily. But sometimes it's time to come back home. And we're thinking about that very seriously. Okay? Thank you.
Lithuanian television. Mr. President, not about getting out, but getting in. The joint declaration mentions the periodic American deployments in the Baltic countries. What specifically can you commit to, having heard the requests and wishes of the Baltic states? And President, you have mentioned Russia as a terrorist state. Did you have a meeting of minds here as to the threat that Russia poses to the neighboring countries? Thank you.
Well, we have a very strong relationship, as the presidents will tell you, with the Baltic states, and we are with them. We're friends and we're allies, and we are going to have a long-term, very fine relationship. In addition, we do business on trade. We work very hard on security together. Surprisingly, large numbers of trade. These are very industrious nations. Now, you're from there, so you know exactly what I'm talking about. These are tremendous people and very, very industrious. We do a lot of business on trade. Thank you. Thank you very much.
The second part of your question, of course, interesting, especially because we didn't talk in that words about the rival, especially on our border, but then country behaves aggressively, performs wars, threatens with nuclear missiles on your border. Of course, you sometimes call this country not very friendly. That's why we investing into our defense, we investing into our security, we investing into reforming NATO, and we would like to see strong NATO, strong alliance, and that's what we are going to do together.
Okay, thank you. Would you like to choose somebody, President?
Your turn. Your turn. Go ahead.
Mr. Trump, speaking about economy, about economical cooperation with my country, with Latvia, what is your message for investors in Latvia? And what is your opinion about the investment in Latvia?
I think all three would be great places to invest. Stable governments, incredible people, hardworking, industrious people. I think they would be great places to invest. I would have no problem with it, although I think as President of the United States, they would call it a slight conflict of interest, perhaps. You might be hearing from these people. No, I think it would be a great place. I think all three would be a great place to invest. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Marianne Rohame, Estonian Public Broadcasting. First, a question to President Trump. As said, the concern of the Baltic states is Russia. And before the press conference, you also said that At the same time, good relationship with Russia is not bad. But how are you going to deal with President Vladimir Putin? Is he as your enemy or someone you can have dialogue with? And the second question is to our President, Kersti Kaljulaid. Is the defense of the Baltic states enough, or should there be something more? For example, air defense systems. Thank you.
Well, I think we'll be able to have great dialogue, I hope, and if we can't, you'll be the first to know about it. Nobody's been tougher on Russia than I have, and you can, and I know you're nodding yes, because everyone agrees when they think about it. Strong energy, the United States. My opponent was into other forms of energy, like windmills. We're very strong on energy. We're essentially now energy independent. We're an exporter of energy. That is not a positive for Russia, but it's certainly a positive for the United States. We just passed a $700 billion military budget. Next year, $716 billion, the largest ever passed. We are going to have a military stronger than we've ever had before, by far. That's not exactly a great thing for Russia, but that's the way it is. We're going to have the strongest military that we ever had. NATO was delinquent. They were not paying their bills. They were not paying. A lot of states, as we discussed, they were not paying what they should be paying. Since I came in, many, many billions of dollars additional have been paid by countries that weren't paying, and now they're paying. And they will have to pay more, frankly. They're going to have to pay more. So there are many things that I've done, and not only the 60 diplomats. Germany did 4, France did 4, we did 60. There's nobody been tougher on Russia. And with that being said, I think I could have a very good relationship with President Putin. I think. It's possible I won't, and you will know about it. Believe me, this room will know about it before I know about it. It's a real possibility that I could have a good relationship. And remember this, getting along with Russia is a good thing. Getting along with China is a good thing. Getting along with other countries, including your 3 countries, is a good thing, not a bad thing. So I think I could have a very good relationship with Russia and with President Putin. And if I did, that would be a great thing. And there's also a great possibility that that won't happen. Who knows? Okay? Thank you. Okay.
If I may, Marianne, I would also like to contribute a little bit to your first question. As I reminded you all, we could trust the judgment of United States administrations and people even while we were occupied. We could trust your judgment when we regained independence and seek membership of NATO, for example. We could, because we are on a common foundation. You can walk around the mall and read, it's all written there. This foundation, our compass for both. And therefore I trust the judgment of President Trump and his administration on that matter too. Now on your concrete question on air defense, yes, we did discuss the deterrence capacity necessary to make sure that our deterrence is believable to everybody who might want to question it. But you know, equal partners don't come to talk to each other this way, that I come here to Washington to ask for visa freedom, or I come here to ask for, let's say, may you support me for this or for that. We analyze situation together and we find the solutions together which will work for us all together, because we are in it all together. We are contributors, equal contributors, according to our size, to this process of guaranteeing our security. Thank you.
Okay.
Maybe I will add that today during our summit we discuss security issues in our region with President Trump, and I am sure that this discussion will help a lot to continue any political dialogue with our eastern neighbor, Russia.
Pick a reporter, please. You could pick a reporter, a Baltic reporter, ideally. Real news, not fake news. Go ahead. Do you want to pick? I think we have enough. Do we have enough? Yes? Go ahead, pick, Mr. President, pick a reporter from the Baltics. Not the same man, he was very tough. Go ahead, pick a reporter.
Okay, I can.
Yes, go ahead. Yes, please, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Anna Udre. I'm from Latvia. So I have a question for our president from Latvia. You're going to San Francisco after your meeting here in Washington, and you're meeting some people who are making business connections from Latvia and the U.S. Do you see any certain outcomes out of that? Thank you.
First of all, I think during our summit, I will repeat again that we discussed how we can strengthen our economic cooperation between Baltic states and the US. And of course, my visit to California, to Silicon Valley, will give, I think, good basis for better understanding what our business people need to be presented here, and what I can help, how I can help them to be here. Because anyway, I think all these cooperations between Baltic states business people and US business people is very important for our societies, for our business societies. And as I said, we are thinking not only about investments in our country, and we are trying to make a better environment for investments in our country, but also our business people are invested here. And I think it is important for both countries, for Latvia and for the US.
I just want to conclude by saying that I'm very impressed with these three great Baltic nations and these three great presidents. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
That was President Trump in a joint press conference with the leaders of the Baltic nations, Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania. He took some questions, and he answered some questions, and they did as well. This is the post show where we hear from you. We want to hear what you thought about the press conference. Write to me on Twitter. I'm Steve Lookner. You can write to me at @Lookner on Twitter, at LOOKNER. We're going to read your comments on the air. Big thanks to our moderators in our chat rooms. We got Barbara Braley there in the YouTube chat room right now, and we got Common Sense and Gleno on the website, and also Roger Vega and Rio Frank in the YouTube chat room. So let me know what you thought about the press conference. We want to take your comments on the air. So in terms of what President Trump said, there weren't that many questions in the press conference, but in terms of what he said, to summarize, he was asked about whether he was going to pull our troops out of Syria, and he said, well, we're going to be looking at that, and he talked about how he wants to get the troops back home, but at the same time, he raised the possibility that maybe like Saudi Arabia could, or Saudi Arabia and some other countries could pay for our troops to stay there. I hadn't heard that proposal before, so we don't really know what's going to happen with that. Sounds like he'd like to get the troops home, but no decision yet. Let's see. He was asked about, he had made a comment earlier, I think it was today, about the military guarding the border in Mexico. Let me see if I can actually find you the comment he made, because he was asked about that comment. Military, Trump, border, Mexico. Let's see. Oh, by the way, thank you, DM, for the donation. DM says, revoke CNN and Acosta Press Pass. We are viewer supported here at Right Side Broadcasting, so if you like that we bring you all of President Trump's events and we don't talk over them, and we bring you lots of other news coverage, if you like that, you can do what DM did and donate to us by going to the bottom of the YouTube chat and click on the $ sign at the bottom of the YouTube chat, that little $ sign there, or go to rsbn.tv/donate, rsbn.tv/donate. So, in terms of the President Trump comment about the military troops guarding the U.S.-Mexico border, you can see he had said earlier today, President Donald Trump said Tuesday that he's directing the U.S. military to secure the U.S.-Mexico border in lieu, for now, of a border wall. We're going to be doing things militarily until we could have a wall and proper security. So he said that, and That was a new proposal, I believe. And then he was asked about that in the press conference today, and his response was, well, he said we have horrible laws to protect the border. We need change. He complained about catch and release procedures, in which people come to this country illegally, and maybe they request asylum, and then we release them until they have a hearing years later. But I don't believe he specifically addressed the specific question about what he exactly meant about the military troops guarding the U.S.-Mexico border. I don't think he really got into the answer to that question. So he talked about that, and then I guess the other big thing he talked about was he was asked about if he was going to have, I think the question was something like, when you meet with President Putin, do you think you're going to have good relations with him? But anyways, what his response was he first said that nobody's been tougher on Russia than he has. He said, we've become energy independent. That's not good for Russia. We've gotten countries to spend more on NATO. That's not good for Russia. We expelled 60 diplomats. But he also said he thought he could have a good relationship with President Putin. He said he thought it was a good thing that we get along with Russia, China, and other countries. He says it's good when we get along with other countries. But he said, who knows how their relationship would go. So he said he thought it was possible he could have a very good relationship with Putin, but he said, who knows. So, and then one other thing, there was this point in time in which he wanted another question to be asked, but he wanted to be a Baltic reporter, and he said, real news, not fake news. So that was interesting. So what did you think of this press conference? Any specific thoughts from you guys? Write to me on Twitter. @Lookner is where to reach me. @Lookner on Twitter. Reagan Better says, was President Trump when he said, my opponent loves windmills, referencing Hillary Clinton? I thought the windmills comment was about the Obama administration. I thought what he was saying was, so he was talking about how he said we have strong energy, and then he said I think he said my predecessor, I'm not sure, but I thought he was talking about how the Obama administration liked energy sources like windmills. And I guess he was saying something like, that's not strong energy, and maybe strong energy is something like more oil production, although we could spend a little time unpacking what he meant by strong energy. It wasn't entirely clear. But I thought Reagan Better, what he was saying was that the previous administration had focused on alternative energy sources like windmills, whereas he was focusing more on traditional energy sources like, say, oil and coal. I might be wrong. That's how I interpreted the statement. That's the best I can say. Now, maybe I'm wrong, of course, but that's how I took it. Let's see here. Just want to make sure the audio was good. Audio is good. Jay Whitney wrote me a comment, and I have no idea what it means, Jay. Jay, feel free to write me and clarify your comment because I don't know what it means. Let's see here. All right, so we're going to take more of your comments on the air. Write to me on Twitter, @Lookner, with your comments, @Lookner. Andrew Sova says, did you hear the last bit when Trump walked out, someone yelled out about Stormy Daniels? Yes, there was a yelled question about Stormy Daniels followed by a bunch of groans in the room. I didn't catch the actual question. It seemed like a bit like trolling in a sense because he's not going to, on the way out, answer a question about Stormy Daniels, so it feels like a question that's not really a question, more like a criticism. I don't know. I feel like, it's one thing to ask a question when you think there's a genuine chance of it getting answered, but I don't think there was any realistic chance of that question being answered. And also, nobody else was yelling out questions. It was the only loudly yelled out question at the time. So I don't know who yelled it out. Linda made a donation, and Linda said, thank you, Steve, RSBN, and fantastic mods. Thank you, Linda. That's very nice of you. We appreciate it. I want to see if, hold on a second. One of our viewers, Maris Zadinas, writes, God, my president, Latvian president, needs to learn some more English. What are your own thoughts on the conference and on the subject of the matter? All right, now, the Latvian president, hold on, I'll get a picture up here. So now I will say this, Raimons Vejonis, I guess you pronounce it, certainly his English was probably the least good of the three Baltic leaders. However, like, I'm impressed when any of these people from another country can actually speak English and understand it fluently. But you think that he should have better English. Now, that's the opinion of our viewer from Latvia. So, I'm impressed when any of these people know English at all. As someone who only knows one language myself, I know a little bit of Spanish from studying it in school, but I forgot a lot of it. But Maris says he wants his president to learn some more English, or I guess maybe to be able to speak it better. On the press conference, well, I guess, look, it seemed like the overall point of the press conference, rather than getting any specific information out there, was more to present, these are symbols sometimes, these press conferences, and I thought the symbolism presented was one of solid alliance. All of the participants in the press conference talked about how the alliance was strong between the Baltic countries and the U.S., how they wanted it to continue to be strong, how they were cooperating on NATO and on counterterrorism and on the economy. So that sort of seemed to be the general message, and I did think if that was the message they were trying to get out there, everybody certainly towed the line of the message. It was a very unified message being presented, so it didn't feel like a press conference where people were disagreeing with each other. It felt like they were all on the same page. So as a symbolic exercise, I thought it was well done. If that way, given that was probably a big purpose of it. I mean, I don't expect a lot of these press conferences in general. I don't really expect to get a lot of big news in them. They're more kind of symbolic exercises for show. That does have a value, I think. I'm just saying they're not really. They're usually not events where the goal is to present lots of new news you haven't heard before. Okay, I wanted to see if if the press was talking about Trump stuff at all from the. This was interesting. Yeah, so this is from Sagar Enjeti, and he writes for the Daily Caller, which is a conservative publication. He said that moment between Trump and the Latvian Prime Minister refusing to take a question was exceptionally weird and awkward. I'm going to see if I can rewind and play that. I remember the president wanting the Latvian Prime Minister to pick a questioner, and the Latvian Prime Minister wouldn't do it. So let me see if I can find that real quick and play it for you again, because I was a little confused as to what was going on there. So give me a second. I'll see if I can call it up on the screen here. Hang on one second. Okay, where is this? All right, turn the volume up a little bit here so I can hear.
Pick a reporter, please.
Oh, I think
this discussion will help.
Oh, okay, here it is. So what I'm going to show you this moment. I think this is the moment when there was this discussion over the next reporter to pick for a question. So when I play this, what you're going to see is the Latvian Prime Minister finishing his answer, and then we'll see then you can watch what happens after that. So hold on, let me just play this right here for you.
To continue any political dialogue with our eastern neighbor, Russia.
Pick a reporter, please. You could pick a reporter, a Baltic reporter, ideally. Real news, not fake news. Go ahead. Do you want to pick? I think we have enough. Do we have enough? Yes? Go ahead. Pick, Mr. President. Pick a reporter from the Baltics. Not the same man. He was very tough. Go ahead, pick a reporter.
Isaiah,
Okay, I can.
Yes, go ahead. Yes, please, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Anna Udre. I'm from Latvia. So I have a question.
It looked like what happened to me. You know, I'm trying to remember, had he picked, I'm assuming he didn't pick one earlier in the press conference, but it looked like what happened to me when I watched that. It felt to me like the Latvian president didn't really get what was being asked of him. You know, when he spoke, as one of the viewers wrote in earlier and said his English is not, you know, super great, it's possible that when President Trump said to him, pick a reporter, he didn't interpret it correctly or was a little confused as to what he was being asked. Because I have to imagine if he understood that President Trump was just saying, hey, it's your turn, pick somebody to call on it for a question, he would have just done it. So my best guess is that he was a little confused about what he was being asked to do, and that's why he wouldn't do it. That's my guess, and I might be wrong about that. That to me is the simplest explanation for that moment. Yeah, Linda in the chat room says that's what, and Light Switch both say that's what she said. That's what they're saying. That's what they thought too. Because yeah, it seemed like maybe he thought something else was going on, or he just, you know, maybe didn't understand what was going on and didn't want to do anything that would offend President Trump or something. John PS30 says, Steve, why focus on this minutia? Well, it was an interesting moment from the press conference. This is the press conference post show, John PS30. It was a noteworthy moment from the press conference, so we figured we'd talk about it. But yeah, I just now one could argue that that's a little bit of a diplomatic flub in the sense of there should be preparation in advance where everybody, all the Baltic leaders know what's going to happen in the press conference, and somebody might say, well, he should have been expecting that, but who knows? But again, it's very possible he just was, you know, if I was somewhere in a different country and I didn't know the language very well and I wasn't totally following what was going on, I think my response would just be like, I'm going to sit here and shut up and not say anything. That way I don't do anything offensive. So that could have been what happened. I don't know. But I don't personally, I'm guessing it wasn't some kind of huge thing where they were angry at each other or something. It just seemed to me like he didn't really follow what he was being asked to do. NYSBL2 says, looked to me like he didn't quite understand either. I still applaud him for the English he does know. I so hope he doesn't get criticism for it. Took nerve to be up there. Yeah, I can't imagine. I don't know. I think the average person watching wouldn't be like so angry about it and really criticize. These things happen, you know. If you have other comments, write to me on Twitter at Lookner, at Lookner. David Obst, our viewer, writes, and English is more of a world language and a lot of people learn it so they can communicate better. So, you know, it is taught in a lot of different countries. Now, I can't really speak to, you know, what are the expectations of the English of a world leader? How well are they expected to know it, kind of thing. So, you know, but look, it's also possible he understands English perfectly. It's just a little hard for him to speak it. He certainly can speak it. He can speak English though. But maybe just in that moment, something about the moment, maybe he heard something differently or was a little confused by a certain phrase. You know, also when you learn languages that are not your native language, oftentimes what you don't learn and what one of the hardest things to get is idioms, expressions in a certain language that aren't like, you know, for all you know, the expression pick someone or pick a reporter, that might not be an expression you come across if you're in Latvia learning English. it's, you know, there's so many different things that come up that you could learn in English, and maybe pick someone is not something he was familiar with. And that's all it takes is just not being familiar with a bit of an expression, with one expression for someone to not really understand what's being said. So perhaps that's something that happened. Okay, I'm going to make a last call for comments here. If you have comments on the press conference, get them in now. We will be, if there's big news later today, we will of course come on the air and cover it. So you can follow us and subscribe us on all our social media. On YouTube, click the notifications bell when you subscribe, Right Side Broadcasting, Facebook, Right Side Broadcasting, Twitter, RSB Network, and Periscope, RSBN TV. Just fix something here. So we'll see if the next couple of days we hear anything more from President Trump on whether the troops will stay in Syria or not. He says he wants Congress to pass stronger border protection laws. I don't know if we'll get any kind of immigration bill passed this year in an election year, but we'll see. Mr. Midwest Talks in the YouTube chat says those four leaders are going to party together tonight. John PS30 says they're going dancing afterwards. John Stanton writes in, the woman in the middle said such moving things about the USA flying their flag when they were under the thumb of the USR. That was more newsworthy. Strong alliance with warmth. I think this was the Estonia president, if I'm remembering this right. Maybe I can find that for you. Yes, that is Kirsti Kaljulaid. I'm sure I'm pronouncing that wrong. Let me see if I can find you when she was speaking. I think I got it. I think that was right at the start of her remarks. Let's see if this is it. Let's see if this is it.
Dear journalists, I would like to thank President Trump and his administration for his political leadership in our region and for the very visible commitment which has been demonstrated through a number of high-level visits also to our region. This year we do celebrate indeed our centennial anniversary. Of these 100 years, for 50, we were occupied by the Soviet Union. And people in our country got up every morning knowing that there are democratic countries led by United States who have never recognized the occupation of the Baltic states. Our national flag, the blue, black and white, was waving here in America throughout these years. It couldn't have been done at that time in Estonia. It was heartwarming. It was a true sign of friendship. We knew it back then and we remember it and we are still grateful for it. Will be forever. Today we agree the declaration.
That was the president of Estonia, and John Stanton, our viewer, liked that moment. Oh, here's the part where President Trump talked about real news, not fake news. They tweeted about this on ABC. They just tweeted about it. Oh, and they posted the storm. So of course NBC News posts the Stormy Daniels question being shouted at him as he was walking off the stage. So here's that moment. President Trump does not react when asked if he has any response to Stormy Daniels as he leaves the White House news conference.
Nobody responds to Stormy Daniels.
What did he say? I think the question was just, do you have any response to Stormy Daniels? Now, I remember when I first heard it, I heard some groans, and then a few people laughed there as well. So there's that. And then here's this. Hang on. It's up here somewhere. I know it's here. I just saw it. Here it is. President Trump says, you can pick a reporter, a Baltic reporter, ideally, he said, real news, not fake news. Let's play this.
You could pick a reporter, a Baltic reporter, ideally. Real news, not fake news. Go ahead.
There you go. So the press is not happy about that. Love Canada says, why did the Latvian president not have a translator in his ear? Well, it's possible. I'm guessing he didn't have a translator in his ear because he can understand English. Now, maybe he doesn't perfectly understand all English, and that at that point in time, President Trump used that expression, and he didn't really know what was going on when he said pick someone. So now, maybe you think he should have had a translator in the year if he couldn't understand that. But it sounds like he understood English pretty well, but, seemed non-ideal that he didn't know what was going on at that moment, if that was what the case was. But what can you do? These things happen. Maybe they'll fix it for the next press conference. Maris Zadanans, who's from Latvia, says, the Latvian president's English is okay, I guess, but a little better wording would be great. It's a bit cringy when a president can't communicate so well in English, but it's okay as everything goes as planned. TC in the YouTube chat says, I'd rather hear from reporters from another country at this point than American reporters because they are 90% negative. All right, I think at this point we're going to wrap up this stream. We appreciate you choosing Right Side today, and also special thanks to the people who donated. We very much appreciate that because your donations are what keeps us on the air. So if you'd like to donate to Right Side Broadcasting and support our independent media station, go to the bottom of the YouTube chat, click on the $sign at the bottom of the YouTube chat, or go to rsbn.tv/donate, rsbn.tv/donate. Thank you so much to our moderators. Hey, Jude is there. Jude, our head moderator, is there in the YouTube chat right now, along with JC and Barbara Braley and Roger Vega and Real Frank. Thank you all. And thank you, Common Sense and Gleno, for moderating on the website. Thank you all for sending in your comments to read on the air. And I will be posting breaking news even when I'm not on the air on my Twitter accounts. You can follow me on Twitter at Lookner, at Lookner. Lily Hager says, why pick the U.S. media for the questions? Because when President Trump they did not ask questions related to the press conference. I think the one domestic reporter was from Reuters, and he asked about Syria and troops in Syria and the Mexico border, which wasn't having to do with the Baltic states. All right, I think we're going to wrap this up for now. Thank you for joining us, everyone. Thank you for people saying thanks in the chat room, like JC and Nancy Glendon and USA Tops All, and Bob Meyer, Linda, Patricia Kemp, Alex Martinez, we have some other regulars there. Luciferin is there. Irene Soto. Mark McKinley. Thread J. Dan the Man is there today. Sonic Youth, thank you. Barbara. Alex, I think I already said you. Thank you, Jabbery. Thank you, 1174. Thank you, Bryn. Thank you, Light Switch. Thank you, Janine. Janine likes the tie. Thank you, Janine. Thank you, Lily. And everybody else watching, thank you for watching. All right, maybe we'll see you later today with some news. But we all here at Right Side Broadcasting hope you have a fantastic day wherever you are. And we will see you soon. And thank you for choosing Right Side for this broadcast. From all of us here at Right Side Broadcasting, that's it for now. Have a good one.